855 pounds bent the bar across Fred Hatfield's back, and he won the contest. But Tom Platz, the bodybuilder, just out-repped him so badly the producers had to stop the cameras and double-check the math. This is the 1992 Squat Duel that exposed the deepest split in the iron game, and what it tells you about building legs that actually grow. Here's the setup. Dr. Squat himself, Fred Hatfield, was a 3-time world powerlifting champion and the first man to officially squat over 1,000 pounds in competition. Tom Platz was the 1981 Mr. Universe, the man with the most famous quads in bodybuilding history, legs so freaky that Arnold once said Platz had the greatest thighs ever built. Someone at a fitness expo had the brilliant idea to put them head to head. 2 rounds. Round 1, a 1-rep max. Round 2, max reps with 525 pounds. Hatfield crushed the max. He hit 855. Platz topped out around 765, which, by the way, is an absurd squat for a bodybuilder who never trained for a single heavy single. But powerlifting rules, powerlifter wins. That's round 1. Then they loaded 525 on the bar. Hatfield, the strongest squatter on the planet, ground out 11 reps. Strong, brutal, respectable. Platz stepped under the same bar and did 23 reps at 525 pounds, more than double the world's best powerlifter, and he reportedly could have kept going. The judges still gave the overall win to Hatfield on a point system that favored the max, but everyone watching understood what they'd just seen. The bodybuilder didn't just beat the powerlifter on endurance, he embarrassed him. So why? Why could the guy with the smaller 1-rep max do twice the work at a heavy submaximal load? That's the entire story of how legs actually grow, and it starts with how these two men trained. Hatfield trained like a powerlifter. Low reps, long rest, heavy singles, doubles, triples percentages of his max, peaking cycles built around one moment on a platform. His nervous system was a sniper rifle. Maximum force, one shot. Platz trained like a maniac. His documented leg sessions out of Gold's Gym in Venice in the late 70s and early 80s are the stuff of legend, and they were not subtle. 8 to 10 sets of squats, reps in the 8 to 20 range. And his signature finisher, the one that broke training partners, was a single set of 225 pounds for as many reps as humanly possible. Platz has said on camera he hit that for sets of 50 plus, 5-0, with 225 on his back. That is a completely different physiological stimulus, and it is exactly what hypertrophy research has been quietly confirming for the last decade. If this is already rewiring how you think about leg day, hit subscribe, because we are just getting to the science. Brad Schoenfeld, the most cited hypertrophy researcher alive, has run study after study on this. His 2017 meta-analysis in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research looked at load and muscle growth and found that hypertrophy is remarkably similar across a wide rep range, as long as you take sets close to failure. Stuart Phillips' lab at McMaster, in the now famous Morton et al. 2016 paper, had trained men do either heavy sets of 8 to 12 or lighter sets of 20 to 25, 3 days a week for 12 weeks. Muscle growth, statistically identical. Strength on the 1-rep max, the heavy group 1 of course, read that again. Hypertrophy was the same, max strength was not. That is the Platz versus Hatfield contest in a single sentence from a peer-reviewed journal. 2 roads up the mountain, one builds the biggest quads anyone has ever seen, the other builds the biggest squat anyone has ever lifted. They are not the same adaptation. So what was Platz actually doing to his legs that Hatfield wasn't? 3 things, and the science backs all of them. First, volume. Schoenfeld, Ozaki, and Krieger's 2017 meta-analysis showed a clear dose-response relationship between weekly sets per muscle group and hypertrophy, with growth scaling up to at least 10 sets per muscle per week and likely beyond. Platz was doing that in a single workout. Hatfield, training for a 1-rep max, kept volume low to preserve his nervous system for heavy singles. Second, time under tension and metabolic stress. Those 50-rep sets with 225 weren't just brutal cardio. They flooded the muscle with lactate, hydrogen ions, and cell swelling, all signals that, according to work by Schoenfeld and others, drive hypertrophy through pathways heavy singles barely touch. Hatfield's training maximized mechanical tension on 1 rep. Platz stacked tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage in the same set. Third, and this is the one people miss, proximity to failure. Powerlifters almost never train to failure. It wrecks recovery and tanks the next heavy session. Bodybuilders, especially the Platz generation, lived at failure. And a 2021 meta-analysis by Gergic and colleagues found that training closer to failure produces a small but consistent edge in hypertrophy, especially with lighter loads. Now here's the part that should change how you train. The reason Platz could rep 525 for 23 wasn't just bigger muscles. It was muscular endurance built by years of high rep work on the most fatiguing exercise in the gym. Type 1 fibers, capillary density, mitochondrial adaptations, buffering capacity. He had built a leg that could keep firing under load long after pure strength athletes would quit. Hatfield's legs were a drag racer. Platz's legs were a drag racer that could also run a marathon while on fire. And this is where you, watching this, have to make a choice. Are you training for a number on the bar, or are you training for the legs in the mirror? Because if you're showing up, doing 5 sets of 5, going home, and wondering why your quads still look flat after 2 years, the answer is in this 1992 squat off. You don't need to do 50 rep sets with 225. Platz himself, in later interviews, admitted his volume was probably excessive even for him, but the principle is non-negotiable. If you want legs that actually grow, you need real volume, you need to push sets close to failure, and you need to spend time in rep ranges that powerlifters avoid on purpose. That means sets of 8, 12, 15, sometimes 20. It means more than 3 working sets on the big lifts. It means leaving the gym with your quads pumped to the point of pain, not just your central nervous system fried. And here's the myth this whole story finally kills: the idea that you have to lift heavy and only heavy to grow. Morton 2016 buried that. Schoenfeld's meta-analyses buried that. Tom Platz buried that in 1992 with 525 pounds on his back and a camera crew watching their jaws hit the floor. Heavy builds strength, effort builds size. Those 2 sentences are not the same sentence, no matter how many times the internet tells you they are. One last thing about that contest. Hatfield, to his credit, has spoken about it with total respect for what Platz did. He knew what he was watching. He said the rep performance was something he'd never seen from anyone, before or after. The strongest squatter on earth, watching a bodybuilder do work he couldn't do. With a weight, he could rep for half as many. So the next time someone tells you bodybuilders are weak or that high reps are a waste, remember the day Dr. Squat won the trophy and Tom Platz won the argument. If this changed how you see leg day, smash like and subscribe, because the next one breaks down Dorian Yates's 4-day blood and guts split rep by rep.